Hi, it's Catie Harris, the Nursepreneur Mentor, and I am here with Joe Flores. He's an attorney and nurse practitioner from Texas. Thanks, Joe, for being with us today. And today's question is, why are contracts essential in any coaching business that a nursepreneur might start?
Well, thank you, Catie, first of all, for being here and having me on, and thanks to all your viewers. Contracts are something that are just essential in any business and any sort of agreement that people reach because it memorializes things in writing. Memories of sound bites fade, but something on paper that we visualize and that we both agreed upon is something that is subject to interpretation sometimes, but is really limited to the four corners of the contract. A little bit of disclosure here. I'm a federal attorney and practice in federal issues like that, but I am licensed in Texas for state issues. For any specific state issues, we have a referral program and we can put somebody in your in your line if you need something in your state, in your locality, an attorney of your choice or somebody that we can help get you help with. But in any event, contracts are very important because it memorializes the agreement between two people. There's three parts of a contract: acceptance, bargaining, and the consideration. So if somebody says, I will do this, excuse me, I will do this for this certain price, it memorializes it and it shows that you all exchange something value for value. Then you have the contract has clauses in there that really narrow down what you're going to do. And so there's no misinterpretation. People will say they promise to do this and much more. But if you put it in writing, it really limits people's ability to come after you or say they promised this and they didn't deliver. So that's what's important.
Yeah, and I think that especially in coaching, because I think sometimes you get clients who have an idea of what it is that you're going to do, whether regardless if you said that you were going to do that or not. If they have that perception that you didn't fulfill your end of the bargain, if it's not in writing, it seems like it would be a problem.
And I think nurses relate to that. If it's not documented, it's not done. And if somebody's contracting, it's very nice to say who the parties are in the contract, the meaning of we, I, him. Lawyers hate pronouns. He told me. Well, who's he? She told me. They told me. Well, we don't know who that is. I'm not being gruff. I'm just being the way the law is. So you have to really identify at the beginning terms and definitions, and then you have to identify who is contracting, and then hereinafter, nice legal term, hereinafter, Joe and Catie are going to contract, for example, and then this is what I'm going to do for Catie as her lawyer or as her consultant, and then I say what I'm going to do in the time frame I'm going to do it, and then I think a disclosure, even in a contract. There are no guarantees of a, absolute result, and none have been given implied or expressed. I think that is so important because a lot of contracts say, she promised me or he promised me the world and didn't give it. So I think a lot of the time if you put there are no guarantees, just like when I represent a whistleblower federally or something, I'll say there's no guarantees of recovery. None have been promised. No one has made you enter into this contract. You have intentionally, willingly, and knowingly done it yourself after full disclosure. And then I think when you contract with somebody, put in bold letters there, you have the opportunity to contact an attorney to review this contract. And moving forward, you're going to sign it knowing all your rights. Everything has been explained. And a contract, have everybody initial, if you want to be really anal retentive, have them initial every paragraph, but at least every page. That way it shows that they read every page.
Yeah, and that's something that could easily be done with a DocuSign or Adobe Sign or one of those signing documents that can be done completely online. So there's really no excuse.
It's true. It's true. Now they'll come back and say, well, when they send me these DocuSigns, I just stamp it. I really didn't read it. Well, you know how ridiculous that sounds in a court. The judge is going to say, tough. You should have read it. And in her contract, it said, get an attorney to read it. So you're on your own, and that as business people, as nurses, we're smart. We know document or it's not done, and then notify people. We've all read surgical consults, as far as the agreement, the surgical consent. As nurses, we know it says in there, all these complications can happen, and there are no guarantees. And the same thing when we're in business, we tell people no guaranteed results. This is what I'm going to do for you, and you delineate it, you itemize it, and that way there's no misunderstanding. And then that there's no promise of an outcome. If you're doing weight consulting and somebody doesn't drop to 50, newsflash, you said if you don't go by these things that we do, and I didn't promise you'd lose 50 pounds unless you really put your shoulder to the wheel.
Yeah. And I think I've seen that done a lot where people will say, there's no guarantee because we can't factor in certain variables such as your effort, your experience, and your knowledge, and all those other factors, which I think is important.
Yeah, it's very wise to do that. And, nursepreneurs out there, have an attorney look over your contract and draft it for you in your state. If you're doing over federal lines, you might want to have a federal attorney look over it to make sure you're covered in multi-state areas. And that's important. And also that you make sure that you know exactly before you contract what the client's expectations are. If they're off the charts, you may want to document even the ratcheting back of those expectations.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. And for our viewers, our disclaimer, Joe is not your attorney, but you can certainly hire his services, or he has a referral program so he can refer you to attorneys in your area. If you have legal issues that you would like us to address, please put them in the comments below and we will address them in future episodes.